All right, so let's get started. In today's interview, I'll be talking to Ivaylo Ivanov. He's the founder and CEO of IUVO Group. That's a marketplace from Estonia/Bulgaria. And we'll be talking about the current challenges P2P marketplaces are facing. We'll be discussing about the current situation with suspended lenders and answering some of your questions that you submitted to us via Slido. So let's get started. Thanks, Ivaylo, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me. I hope it will be interesting and informative for all your readers and viewers.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So maybe some viewers or some investors are not aware of IUVO Group. So could you just briefly introduce your platform?
So IUVO is a peer-to-peer lending platform, so to speak. We connect with non-banking financial institutions, and we assess them and we let them list portfolios of loans on the marketplace. It's sort of a common business model these days. And we let investors obviously purchase parts of these loans in a way that they sort of refinance them, and they're getting a return out of the whole equation. We started in 2016, and we are now among the top 4 or 5 platforms in Europe that are employing this particular business model. So I'm guessing that if an investor is looking into either starting right now to invest into peer-to-peer lending, or they've done it in the past, they must have heard our names somewhere along the lines. If not, we are a very nice option for you to diversify your portfolio and to check out some new exciting companies that you can actually invest in.
Yeah, that's true. P2P marketplaces is actually quite an interesting business model. But it also comes with a lot of challenges that we have seen in the last few months across the European market. What kind of challenge, or what's been the biggest challenge for IUVO this year?
It's I guess it's self explanatory. The definitely the COVID situation was a challenging one for not for only for the peer-to-peer lending business, but for all financial markets. I'm sure you're well aware of that. So I would definitely put this situation as number one challenge that we had this year. The main reason for this is the unpredictability, the unknown factor that all of us as market participants had to endure. When I say market participants, I mean not only the platform, but also the loan originators, the borrowers, the investors. All of us found ourselves in a situation that was definitely unpredictable, and it created challenges for all sides. If we go a bit deeper into this, as you can imagine, from the moment that the quarantines were announced, that was mid-March, I think, all over Europe. We had a situation where somehow borrowers decided that it's the end of the world. Maybe it's best that they stopped any repayments. At the same time, investors also thought that maybe world is going to end, so let's start cashing out as soon as we can. And at this point, loan originators were in the middle of this, so they were devoid of payments from the borrowers. At the same time, they needed to uphold their repayment schedules to the platforms and to the investors. So this actually puts quite a strain on some loan originators, and the ones that were not liquid enough, not let's say maybe even too aggressive with their lending processes. They were not able to uphold the obligations that they have towards platforms. So this is a situation that we saw on many marketplaces, on some more than others. But definitely, I would say this is the biggest challenge that we had so far this year.
Yeah. It's good that you mentioned that some of the loan originators are a bit too aggressive with their lending procedures, and that I would like you to hold that thought because I would like to discuss this in a bit more details later on. But first, more into detail on IUVO's loan originators. I'm myself investor in IUVO, and I'm aware that you have suspended two lending companies this summer. One of them is being CBC from Poland, and investors are having a lot of questions around that. They are not unsure. They are not sure where they will retrieve their money back. What's the current situation? Why CBC was suspended in the first place, and what went wrong? So, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. As you maybe you're aware of, or maybe not, but anyway, the hardest hit sectors all over Europe were the SMEs. So definitely companies that are lending to SMEs are enduring the downturn harder than others. This is our observation, not only on our from looking at our loan originators, but also looking all over the market. So CBC was a company that, or is a company, of course, still that was lending to SMEs, and they felt the quarantine hard, which means that at some point they were unable to perform their payments towards us. At this point, we immediately suspended them on the marketplace, suspended them from getting new investments from investors, as well as suspended their loans from trading on the secondary market. Obviously, with the idea that some investors that are newly coming on the platform and are not aware of the situation, so that they don't obviously go into deals and take up unnecessary risk. What we did is we were in communication with the management team of CBC, but they stopped payments without any notice. So to be maximum frank, they were paying normally. They were appearing on our weekly calls saying, guys, everything is good. And then when the next date for payment came, we just didn't receive anything. Mm-hmm. So what we did is immediately we pushed them to sit down on the table and agree on a way to handle this situation. This time they were a bit more cooperative. We negotiated a repayment schedule for them to sort of delay the initial payments that they needed to do in the 3 months that were just after the quarantine was announced. So we showed flexibility towards them, but in exchange, in order to protect the investors' interest, we actually made them to pay interest for these prolongments that they were getting through this period. So we shook hands. Things went according to the plan that we agreed for the next couple of months, until again the same situation appeared. We received the regular payment. We had the call where they said everything is good, and then the next payment came when actually we received nothing. So what we did is we didn't let them have a second strike. We immediately started a legal procedure against the company, and this legal procedure right now is in full action. In Poland, we are involving our own lawyers, which actually includes also lawyers from our mother company, Management Financial Group. This includes also lawyers that we have in our team in Estonia, and this also includes a lawyer company that we have hired in Poland to move this there on the spot. So right now procedures are in action, and we are updating the investors for any developments on this topic. We know that CBC is aware of the proceeding that is started from them. The last communication that we had with them was that they wanted to receive the last calculation of the debt that they have towards us, and they are, I'm guessing, thinking of how to respond to the situation. What we know from our due diligence that we do and our continuous monitoring on the situation, we know that the company is still operating. They are even lending. So this means that they are liquid enough to issue new loans, as far as we understand from our sources. So we are hoping that these funds will be appointed by the courts to be towards the investors for first place.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how much they are owning to IUVO investors right now?
To IUVO, the debt is around 2.5 million, I think, the last one, and also some invoices that they owe to IUVO, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have any forecast, or what's your expectation in terms of recoveries in this specific case?
It's hard to say right now because the courts in Poland are. This is the first time that they've had such a case on their hands. So we don't know yet how long it will take them to take a decision. But from our side, we're pretty confident that we have all the necessary documentation, all the logs, all the communication with the companies. We have also at the time that we agreed with CBC the extensions during the quarantine, we made them sign an annex that confirms the debt that they have towards the investors and towards IUVO at that point. So we have written documents signed by their whole boards showing what they sort of confirm that they owe to the investors. So in terms of documents, I'm pretty sure that we have everything needed. From then on, it's all in the hands of the court to take. I'm hoping not as long as they can to actually to decide on this matter.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate this update because when I look at IUVO's blog, I can read here and there some news, but it's not as thorough as you have just explained. So a lot of investors are also worrying, especially those who invested in CVC loans, whether they will retrieve their money back. So yeah, I appreciate the update, and maybe I don't know how is your resources, but maybe if you can update the investors maybe on a more regular basis, it would just create like a bit more of trust towards IUVO, because obviously P2P lending is for many people very emotional, and if they invest in the loan originators that are not doing well, they're of course worried, and to kind of give them updates on what's going on would be really appreciated.
Yeah, sure. That's quite understandable. We are trying to update every time there is something new on the matter. But maybe if investors feel more confident if they receive just a regular thing, this is no problem with us to do it.
All right. So let's talk about another lending company, BBG from Georgia, I think. What's the situation here?
BBG was actually suspended earlier in the year, even before the COVID situation. The situation there was that the regulatory framework in Georgia changed significantly, and it changed practically overnight. They had a cap on the interest rates that they can charge, which practically made the business there impossible. This also affected practically every Georgian company that's was operating in the non-bank lending field. What we did is immediately after we found out about this, and we also had communication with this about it with the management team. We suspended them from the platform again with the idea not to send them new investments and to start and recover whatever we can from the exposition there. At some point, they made just a couple of small payments. After that, they stopped. So we went into court procedures there as well. Right now, similar to the CBC case, what we do is we employ our own lawyers, we employ our Estonian lawyers, and we also employ lawyers on spot, in this case in Georgia, to handle all the communication with the courts and all the documentation that is necessary. So right now we've sent our case to the Georgian court. It was in a quite long vacation during the COVID time, but right now it is working. So we are right now waiting for a decision by the court. There, as far as we know, the company is not lending right now. It's not operating. We are in contact with part of the team there that are saying that they're doing their best, whatever that means. But we are not counting on this, and we are pushing our lawyers to to develop the situation as further as they can. So similar to CBC, we are right now waiting for the Georgian court to actually to give their response. Well, they're actually even verdict on the topic. The good thing that we have with BBG is that I don't know if you're aware, the loans there were car-backed loans, so there are actually assets there. It wasn't just retail lending. There are assets there, and we have lists of their assets received from the register in Georgia that are supposed to be there if the lists are actual. So there are assets that can be sold to obviously to clear this debt. It takes time, unfortunately, as with all legal procedures from from this type. But we are hoping that things will be developing nicely there.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware of the current debt that BBG is owing?
Yeah, BBG is owning around 65,000 euros.
Okay, so it's not by far as much as CBC.
Yeah, definitely. BBG was one of the smaller loan originators that we worked with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right. So the last company that I'm really interested in is Monify. So Monify, they're operating in the SME business. They are also lending, or they used to lend money on other P2P marketplaces, where they also got suspended. And I was actually expecting IUVO also to suspend Monify right away. But it's been a bit different, right? So I've read the latest blog post where you say that they have some changes in the management. So can you elaborate a little bit more on this situation?
Yeah. So Monify is again a lender working with us that was experiencing troubles because of the SME lending. That is the bulk of, or I think the whole of their business. Definitely, this is the only part that we were listing with us. There, the management in the face of Artur Gerisari was the CEO and founder of the company. We were in constant communication with him and his team. He announced to us that there is a change coming with the ownership and the management of the company. This change was teased by them in the past probably month and a half before the actual change happened. At which point they weren't willing to share any details about the deal that was going to happen. But on the other hand, with us, with IUVO, there were absolutely no delays in any payments, neither towards the investors nor towards us as a service provider. So in terms of contractual, relationships that we had with them, we had practically no reason to take any action towards the company. We heard and we saw that they were suspended on other platforms, but still the payments towards us continued. So what happened is that at the time that the actual change of ownership and of management happened, there was a gap in which we didn't have any notice from the new management coming in. It's just a technical time that it takes probably for them to orientate themselves about the business. At that point, we took decision to suspend them temporarily on the platform until we know what is going on. Again, I'm repeating, even though they had no and they still have no obligations that are uncovered. So we did that. Some days ago, we actually got into contact with the new management that is taking over. They asked for some time to get to know the situation and all the contracts that the company had sealed. And so we are right now in this period where they are still getting to know what they have, at hand. However, still there are no, at least as of today, there are no delays in any payments. So even though that Monify is suspended, it's more of a precaution because of the change of ownership and because of the worrying information that we see on other platforms.
Yeah, that's a good news because other platforms they just suspended it and people cannot sell it on any secondary markets. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts on this one. When I started investing on IUVO Group, I did a little bit of research and I looked at the data and statistics you're providing. And for at least from my point of view, the most interesting investments were into Bulgarian companies that are owned by the mother company that owns IUVO Group. Would you say that most investors have a similar investment strategy, or do they simply spread their investments across all available loan originators?
I would say we have both kinds of behavior. In a way, it makes sense to maybe to invest more into the company that is also the shareholder of the platform. On the other hand, if you're coming, let's say, from Germany or from Spain, these companies that we are affiliated with still doesn't sound familiar to you, so it doesn't make any make any difference. So we have noticed both kind of behaviors. I would say that in countries where our affiliated companies are known names, such as Bulgaria, Poland, Romania, even some other countries that we haven't listed them, but they've still heard about the brand. This definitely plays a role. But for investors coming from Spain, let's say, it doesn't point them at any specific direction.
I did a little bit of research on you and I watched your previous interviews. And in one of the interviews, you said that you are also checking whether the loan originator is excessively using P2P to fund their loans. I was wondering what are the metrics that you are looking at, because there is quite a few loan originators that are also lending on other platforms, and the three lending companies that we've talked about it's the case with them as well. So I would be curious to hear what kind of metrics and how is the process of checking whether they are not using P2P too much.
So obviously we are looking at their reports. That's why we want them quarterly. And we're looking at the indebtedness ratio. We're looking at the exposition, and we want to see if this exposition is towards other peer-to-peer lenders or towards banks, or they may have other debt issuing procedures during the period. They may also have debt that is coming straight from the shareholders, which is a common practice in order not to write this as capital. So we're looking at all of these factors, and we have our own metrics and ratios that we use in order to decide which is too much or not. And this methodology is something that we are developing constantly, and actually is something that we're planning on putting up out there to our partners and to our competitors even, to use as a sort of best practice, or to start building us all of us together as a best practice in order to use it in the future. So what this does is obviously it allows us to monitor what is the exposition of the platform. What we cannot do, however, and this is something of a further development that we must have, is that we are not able to verify for sure any double listing. So obviously you have one loan that could be listed on one or two platforms, and in this way, this is a risk that needs to be sort of mitigated. How we do that is that we actually require from the platforms, and also what we want to assure is that there is also not any sort of unexistent loans listed on either of the platforms. So we have a sample of the loans that are listed that we want to actually we want them to actually produce scanned documents that are signed by the borrower, and also the actual bank statement that we see that this loan is existing. And something else that we're doing on this actually in this direction is something that we set up with one of the loan originators that we work with, iBankar, is a transparency page where they actually announce all the loans that they list on either this or that platform, so that you can clearly see which loan is listed there, and there is no way to, or there is no instance of double listing. So these are methodologies that we use, and they are reducing this risk, not putting it to zero, obviously, but it's something that I think maybe all of the industry can look at us and at some other partners that we work with, and actually use it in their relationships with their partners in order to reduce this risk as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. So I think that the checks are quite good to know that you guys do check individual contracts on specific loans. But what about the loan originators that don't have this kind of transparency page? How do you go about checking whether the same loan is not listed on a different platform?
Unfortunately, right now it is quite impossible to do that without actually having sort of like a common registry of the P2P platforms, where we share just some basic data or some basic idea of the loan, so that we can verify that it is not double listed. Unfortunately, the risk is there, and this is something that we're actually going to propose to the industry to start thinking into this direction, to actually establish something like this. If somebody else has a better idea of how to do it, we're open also to think about it. But unfortunately, this is something that it is out there as a risk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Do you think that from an investor, does it make sense to invest in the same loan originator on different P2P marketplaces?
Well, if we're looking at the Monify case, I guess it does. I guess it does because we are all performing in different due diligence processes, and on the basis of what this due diligence shows, we put different covenants into the contracts with the loan originator. So it is theoretically possible that one platform has more leverage over one loan originator on the basis of the contract or of any other safeguards that they have put in place, sort of like guarantors, including the mother company as a guarantor, or including part of the management as a guarantor on the loan over the exposition, which actually can make them more likely to pay a certain platform than to pay another one. I'm guessing this is sometimes the case, and probably this is part of the situation with Monify, or could be. I'm not sure, but this could be part of the situation. So it does make sense.
All right, thanks. I think this information is not really known to most investors, so I will take this away with me. All right, so let's finish up with some of the Slido questions that investors submitted to us. So if you just can give you like a brief answer, so we got this covered as well. So the first question would be: Are you working on some updates that would allow users to see their diversification within lenders?
We've seen this with, I think Mintos launched something like this. We liked it. We liked it as an idea. Sounds good. Right now we have other things that are coming in the next actually in the next 2 quarters, to be honest. So we would be able to think of something like this probably in the spring of 2021, because we're having quite a busy feature list that we're going to launch in the next 6 months, that I'm sure will start these conversations with investors practically, actually quite more than this feature. So it is a nice thing to have, but right now I wouldn't expect it in the next 6 months.
So good practice for investors is to set up individual auto invests with dedicated long originators to have a better overview of how they are exposed into different lending companies, right?
This is one aspect of it. However, we are looking also into best practices as a whole in the diversifying between as many not only as many individual loans, but also as many individual jurisdictions that you have. Also, maybe if one company is lending on different markets, if you're able to diversify between markets as well, this is a good thing as too, because as we've seen, there were some companies which their own portfolio was performing differently on the same market, but between different cities, let's say. So it's diversification is obviously the key, but it's good that people also look into this even over diversification, so to speak, because it showed that even it can make a difference.
All right. Another investor is asking, what's the average investment per active investor on IUVO Group?
Right now, it's I think between 4,000 and 5,000 euros.
Another investor is asking, what happens if IUVO would go out of business?
Similar to what we've said always, even if the platform is not there, every deal every sell, every purchase on the platform is creating a contract between the investor and the loan originator. So the loan originator remains liable even if the platform disappears for any reason. And these documents are kept on servers in both in physical locations and in the cloud, and they're also backed up not only within IUVO but also within the mother company that we have. So practically, even if the platform disappears, the deals are with the investor, they're with custodians that we have, and they're also with the loan originator. So there is evidence for these deals everywhere.
All right.
Also something else is that, but this is specific to the country that the loan originator operates in. In some countries, these deals are even reported to the credit registry, so they even exist on a state level. So this is also further security for the investors.
Okay. Another investor is asking if there are any guarantees that loan originators are not applying abusive interest on consumers.
The guarantees for this are coming from the due diligence that we perform, both when we get them on the platform and also the continuous monitoring that we do. We are actually looking at their licensing, and the fact that their regulator is still allowing them to lend obviously shows if they are abusing the system or not. So here we are actually counting on the fact that if their activity is legal in the country that they operate in and they have all the needed licensing, we are counting that the regulators have done their job, and we are actually allowing them on the platform. Probably the other aspect of the question is the ethical aspect, especially in let's say developing markets such as East Asia or Africa, etc. This is obviously even a bit of a philosophical question about what is good or not to have as a business model. But obviously, you have to also take into consideration that on some markets, this is the only financial inclusion and the only financial service that is obviously provided there to the population. So this comes at a cost, and sometimes it may sound higher for us here in Europe, but it's not that unjustified if you go and look at the situation over there.
All right, and last question. Investors are curious whether there is going to be a sign-up bonus.
A sign-up bonus. We are actually looking into other interesting campaigns and benefits that we're going to provide in the affiliate, not the affiliate, but the refer a friend program, and some other specific campaigns. We're not yet launching a sign-up bonus, but it's in the cards, and maybe sometime next year it could be realized. Right now, we think we are providing quite nice perks to the investors that are loyal to us, that are showing that they're using the platform and are enjoying the process. I think that they're seeing the benefits of being with us even without a sign-up bonus.
All right, Ivaylo, appreciate your answers. I really enjoyed the talk, and I hope we can do it sometime again in the future.
I would love to. I hope the technical difficulties are not were not ruining the experience for the readers and the viewers. And we'll talk again soon, guys.